Excellent. All right, we're at 11:02. We have a nice and packed call today, so I think we shall get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Q4 2024 All Community Call. My name is Karl Moll. I'm the Technical Project Advocate at FINOS. This call will act as sort of your year in review on top of our normal updates. Since I started last December, I'm also excited for today's call as it's sort of a wrap up for my time at seeing all the exciting work that the community has done during my time at FINOS. This also marks a full year of the new format of our community calls, which we have been working on carefully iterating on every call this year in order to provide the best, most useful, most interesting, and most informative experience for everyone participating. With that in mind, we have a nice and packed agenda today, starting with a welcome and some calls to action from myself, end of year wrap up from Gab. Grizz will be providing OSFF updates and member updates. And then Rimma will be providing us with some opportunities to support the community. As a reminder to everyone, there are calls to action throughout this call, with usually a QR code on almost every slide. So now would be a good time to get your phone or QR code reader ready. We will start off, though, with some calls to action, or you can watch, of course, the replay on the recording that we will send out afterwards. But we will be starting out with calls to action at the beginning and end that are community-wide, and then we will have updates from our project SIGs and community updates presented in the second portion of the call. On today's calls to action, we really only have one call to action that is kind of outside the flow of the rest of the call. DTCC is hosting an AI-powered hackathon February 3rd to 7th that is being supported by FINOS. So if you want to check out the QR code to register for that, we are assisting in identifying use cases and building cross-firm teams to support those use cases or to build projects for those use cases. So we highly recommend that everyone try and participate in this hackathon. We can see that there's a lot of utility for the wider community. And with that, we do have a nice and packed call today. So I will be handing things over to Gab and here we go.
Thank you, Karl, and welcome to the end of the year, All Community Call. It's been a pretty banner year for FINOS, so I hope to uncharacteristically keeping it on time for the next 10 minutes, as I have so much to share with you. But again, I'll try to be concise. Before I jump into a quick sort of review of what happened in Q4, I just want to take a second to welcome a new addition to the FINOS team. Definitely not a new face to the FINOS community. Olivier Paubeny has joined us as a field CTO a little less than a month ago. Many of you might be familiar already with Olivier. He's been a member of our technical advisory committee. He's been an alternate on our board. He also serves as an ambassador, actually the lead ambassador for our ambassador program. And I'm very excited to welcome him as field CTO, not only to provide a harmonized experience for all our developer initiatives, as you'll hear throughout the next of my presentation. We've had an uptake in tech sprints, hackathons, and truly sort of more hardcore developer events over the last year. We plan to continue that, but truly sort of using a title that really maps more sort of technology organizations, really is in the idea of fostering further production adoption of FINOS projects. And Olivier has both a deep open source experience as well as industry experience coming from Symfony, one of our members, or at least having in the past worked for Symfony, and then more recently with Orcs in the KubeCon, in the CNCF and Cloud Native community. So please join me in welcoming Olivier. You hear much more about him in the coming year. You can see his email down there. We're super excited to have him on board. Next slide. and actually you hear from later in the call. So this is a slide that I used, I guess, a week ago in our board check-in on December the 9th. And it just goes through a couple of highlights, you know, for 2024, but also we've seen a lot of acceleration during Q4. And over the next few slides, I want to sort of tee this up with some sort of concrete proof points. First and foremost, a huge thank you to our membership. We have grown our membership 20% year on year, and that allows us to really be more actively supporting our projects, and through funding efforts, through support in terms of marketing. And we're seeing honestly a major inbound through these new constituencies that are joining FINOS. So it's not just about the number of members, it is about the growth in sort of across the whole financial workflow and ecosystem. Buy side, we have clearinghouses like JSCC and DTCC who joined this year. We have the three major cloud service providers now as member of FINOS. Earlier this year, NVIDIA and ProtectAI joined us as platinum members. So huge kudos here, and also members that are actually very engaged. TraderX, one of our projects, was mentioned on stage by Mark Russinovich, the CTO of Azure, during their Microsoft Ignite conference. So we're seeing a lot of growth from a membership and funding standpoint, but truly this growth has been driven. It's interesting that we see both existing sort of mature initiatives like open source readiness and FTC3 still driving a lot of new members, but also sort of more, I would say, cutting edge initiatives like our focus on open source AI and open source AI governance throughout the year. So it's interesting that FINOS continues to really evolve on both sort of our bedrock projects, as well as continues to add new initiatives, either that we start as a community or they're coming sort of to a stronger and stronger inbound of folks that want to host under FINOS. Obviously, as a nonprofit, we are not measured on revenue, but we're measured on ultimately the best proxy of value is the adoption of our projects. And this year we've seen a strong acceleration in the adoption of FTC3 at OSFF. In case you missed it, we've had a major public statement of adoption and actually conformance to the standard by the likes of BlackRock with their Aladdin platform and Morgan Stanley, as well as several vendors like LSEG, FactSet, State Street, publicly coming out to support the usage of FTC3 as a cross-industry interoperability standard. So again, we see the network effect kicking in. In the next slide, I do have, before we get there, no. In the next slide, I do have an additional statement of adoption. But before I go there, OSFF has continued to grow. We've had between London and New York, still, I think over 1,500 people joining us. Definitely almost 2,000 people registered for the conference. If you go to our conference website, you can take a look at the specific demographics and some of the highlights of the conference. It seems to me that as we pair the open source readiness of the industry with bringing 2,000 financial services, both managing directors, all the way from managing directors to analysts, it really starts to create sort of this organic synapse of connections that ultimately grows our projects and the value of what we're doing as a community. Hackathons and tech sprints are on the rise. I mentioned just last month we ran a hackathon in partnership with Citi. We had over 1,000 people registered, and I just was looking yesterday at the amount of pull requests and new features that were raised against FTC3 and Git proxy was staggering. And so we think, and thanks to also Olivier's participation, that we will continue to double down in these tactics as they seem to be very effective to accelerate projects. Last but not least, we hosted a really, I think, consequential strategy session with our board about a month ago, and we are charting quite an ambitious new vision that takes really into account the growth that we experienced in the last year, but also all the milestones that we've achieved from the vision that we set out when we started in 2018. Now, want to spend the next 5 minutes to share a couple of examples of some of these highlights in Q4. So if you want to go to the next slide, Karl. This is really hot off the press. It came out last week, and I think it's another huge statement of adoption and value of the projects in FINOS. JP Morgan, in case you don't know, one of our main, I think, most promising initiatives, it's the Open RegTech initiative. So the idea of mutualizing regulatory compliance in the open. And one of the cornerstone projects there is the CDM, the Common Domain Model, which was contributed about a year ago, a little over a year ago, by 3 industry associations. I'm really excited to see JP Morgan Chase publicly coming out to switch to digital regulatory reporting based on the Common Domain Model. And if you want to learn more, guess what? We have a free training. Training certainly has been a great driver of growth for our projects. You can scan your QR code and check out the free training to learn more about the Common Domain Model. Next slide. As we talked, it's not only about the sort of cornerstone projects of FINOS, like FDC3 or the CDM, but this year we experienced a lot of growth and a lot of interest as we launched our AI strategic initiative. Unsurprisingly, in an industry like financial services, the first and foremost focus was about leveraging the convening power that FINOS has to build a consensus on a governance framework on risks, mitigation, risk and controls and mitigations when it comes to deploying Gen AI, either open source or off-the-shelf solutions within a financial services, within a regulated industry. In short 6 months, not only we saw a lot of members joining, as I mentioned, to support the effort, but we announced in October the first release of the governance framework for financial services. If you look into it and you're familiar with our Common Cloud Controls project, you can see kind of a very similar approach there. And as we look into next year, we're looking to really have Common Cloud Controls and AI Readiness work much more closely in actually providing, not just a spec, but truly implementations of these controls and potentially conformance tests. We didn't really just work on the governance and consumption side, but if we go to the next slide, it became clear that if you want to build it out, Karl, I can just quickly go through it and try to stay on time. I think I'm almost at the end of my time. We really looked at exploring what's the opportunity to build pre-competitive AI, whether it be tools, data sets, models themselves in the open. If you've been following, open source AI has been the talk of town over the last 6 months, not only in terms of the impacts they can have from an industry perspective, from a geopolitical perspective, from a market perspective, but truly, like we are about pre-competitive open source code, there's no reason why we couldn't be working on sort of this new vehicle of pre-competitive open source AI that each one of you can take and fine-tune. And so we built a pretty interesting community this year, and we are looking to accelerate this in the new year by building dedicated funding, supplemental fund under FINOS on accelerating research. And again, the development building of pre-competitive AI use cases. If you want to go to the next slide. Next slide. Previous slide. So this is just an example of the type of potential project that we uncovered throughout the year. There's both acceleration of our governance framework, but as I said, there's inbound coming from our new members to really accelerate pre-competitive use cases, whether it be regulation as code, whether it be my dog barking in the background, which you can probably hear right now, whether it be actually time series models. So just so you know, if you go to the final slide on my side, this is something that we are actively working on right now. And the idea is truly to not only continue to build a community of researchers that we can pair with enterprise use cases, but also to fund that through accelerated and dedicated funds. So if you're interested, please put up your QR code, and we'll be happy to nurture the conversation. And with that, with hopefully just a couple of minutes late, I'm going to give it back to Karl.
Excellent. There we go. Sorry, I was double muted there. Excellent. And we are next moving over to Grizz. Thank you, Gab.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm going to talk to you about some events collaboration. And the first part of it is the next slide, please. The Open Source in Finance Forum for 2025. We released the dates a few weeks ago, but we wanted to emphasize that here. London will be June 24th in the QE2 Center, and New York will be the 21st and 22nd of October at Convene at, I think it's 22 or 221. It's Liberty Street in New York City. If you are looking to speak or sponsor, we have a form that you can fill out on our website right now. That is what the QR codes are for. The top one is for speaking. The bottom one is for sponsoring. And we will be opening up registration and the call for proposals for London, I believe, early in January. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. But again, if you're looking to sponsor, now's the time. Do your budget flush while you can. Maybe we'll talk about that as well. But if we can go to the next slide, there's one more thing on events that we end up doing a lot throughout the year, but I don't think that we put it enough out there to our members, especially, is if you have events that you are doing internally, whether it is a showcase or an expo, and some type of tech event, a hackathon that you're doing, think about FINOS as being one of your subject matter experts in this. You know, this, we want to be able to, show your developers, show your technologists, show your C-suite, how you can use collaboration to solve tech problems, solve costs, or have cost savings and revenue production, and ultimately get ROI on your investment within FINOS, whether that's in the membership itself or in the collaboration within the projects. So talk to us, let us know when you have events coming up this year. We'd love to be part of those. Also, external events. We know that a lot of our members participate in external events, let's say Sibos or Money 2020 is the larger ones, but there are smaller ones as well that if you need a partner going in to start a panel, to do a talk together, especially if it goes around banking technology, it's not always about open source. Obviously we are, but if you're looking to have a subject matter expert and also, pull from the FINOS and the Linux Foundation Authority, nonprofits do help your cause sometimes. Reach out to us. We'd love to partner with you on your internal events and your external speaking events. That's all I have. Have a great day. Cheers.
And great. Thank you, Grizz. And next we have up Rimma, giving us a update on additional sponsorship opportunities to support our community.
Thanks so much, Karl and Grizz. And continuing with the theme of collaboration, this is a year 2025 in which we'd really love to partner with you closely on our most impactful activities. And really the ones that have driven tremendous ROI, as well as given light to the impact of working in open source. So with that, there are two specific sets of activities that we'd like to highlight for you. If you have end of year budget you're looking to spend, or perhaps you have research or marketing budget for next year, we'd really love for you to consider working closely with us on a set of activities where we can work jointly with developers. You've heard Gab discuss the power of our hackathons. As many of you are aware, our hackathon with BMO is where TraderX was born and where we advanced significantly FDC3 and interoperability, and really gave it an amazing kind of push. So with that, there is an opportunity to work with us on a hackathon for next year and would really love to engage you. It is the ultimate innovation acceleration. You can also join the judging panel and engage in our marketing pre and post campaign, and also be part of the showcase at OSFF. Equally, sprints are very powerful. Some of you participated in the AI sprint in the fall. They're less time consuming, they're less expensive, so do reach out if you'd like to participate in one of them on a theme to be agreed. Next slide, please. And with that, we also would like to collaborate with you on more exec-focused activities. As you're aware, the State of Open Source in Financial Services report has been a very powerful instrument to showcase the growth and impact of our community. And this year, we really want to focus on the ROI aspect of open source and equally work with you on additional questions you may be looking at within your company that highlights specific aspects of open source. So a great opportunity to collaborate with our team from the get-go on advancing the report. Equally, if you're looking for cost-effective market intelligence, we work very closely with the Linux Foundation team, and can give you the opportunity to collaborate on a research roundtable to set up the right questions, and then work with us to advance the answers and be part of a whole campaign around specific aspects of tech that you're looking to take a deeper dive into. So if you do have an end of year budget flush or you're planning for 2025, we would love to collaborate, and please do reach out to me. Thank you so much. Back to you, Karl.
Great. Thank you, Rimma. And thank you to everyone from the FINOS side. Now we're going to move over to hearing updates from our SIGs, projects, and communities. A reminder just to our panelists, everyone has about, roughly 3 minutes, that we do have some flexibility on the time today. I'll hold up a 3 when we have 30 seconds left and a 1 when we're at the 3 minutes. But we do have a little bit of flexibility here. So first up, we have Eddie Knight giving us updates, 2 updates from the Technical Oversight Committee and from Common Cloud Controls. So Eddie, over to you.
Cool. Yeah, Karl, you told me I had 6 minutes for the 2 updates, but I don't think I'll use all of it. So the first up is the Technical Oversight Committee. I am a very new chair. It's a brand new role for me to be able to support the community in this way, but it's been really, really, really encouraging for me so far. And I want to share with you guys why, because I think this is actually really good for the entire community at large. We have 12 people on the Technical Oversight Committee. A lot of you folks are very aware of that and voted to help decide who are these folks that are supporting that. Thanks, Lori. You're popping up. How do I disable Lori from talking? Is that a thing that I could do? Just kidding. So we've got 12 people on the Technical Oversight Committee and roughly 24 active projects right now. And so one of the things that we're really excited about doing is launching the liaison program, where we, starting in Q1, are going to be reaching out to support project maintainers directly. And this is going to be a evolving effort that will shift and change and grow over time. But the support y'all all know that I'm ADHD and I don't know how to disable the chat on this. So James, hello, stop. All right. Liaison program, super duper exciting. We're going to kick that off in Q1, and this is going to see us actually engaging directly with projects to find any opportunities for improvement, opportunities for engaging projects with each other. We've already seen a little bit of that, which I'm going to talk about on the next slide. But also just finding places where projects are having opportunities to grow, that maybe there's an obstacle in the way, things like that. So this is going to really unlock a lot of community growth opportunities. And the other 2 points that I have here on the screen are related to that. We are looking to support the project maturity levels, so that way we can demonstrate the quality and the security, just the general health of the projects in a more robust way. So that way, when you think of an active FINOS project, you think of something that is ready for use in a production environment. We are pushing towards that. It's already very true, but we're pushing to just really grow that confidence that everybody can have in all of the FINOS ecosystem. And part of that is the item that we are currently undergoing, which is getting SCA tooling, software composition analysis tooling, out onto all of the FINOS projects. And this is going to be a call to action for any project maintainers that are listening to this right now. We have a strategy in place to provide very robust tooling with a dashboard and CI integrations and PR alerts for you to be able to better maintain all of your dependencies, and therefore provide a more secure and end product to your end users that they can have even more confidence in. SBOM generation is part of that as well. So we'd encourage everybody to be part of that. It is rolling into our project maturity and health metrics that we're doing, and that is rolling into the liaison program. It's just a really cool season for us, seeing the TOC really step up. And so I guess the last thing on this slide is just a huge thanks to everybody that's been part of the TOC, bringing it to where it is today. And I'm just really excited to keep working with y'all moving forward. That is the end of that slide. Hard shift to going on to it's talking about one of those projects or initiatives specifically, which is Common Cloud Controls. This project is at the center of several different elements within the FINOS ecosystem related to compliance. Many of you guys that I see in the chat list right now have been involved in the compliance work through FINOS over the years. One of the biggest ones that we've had, or the longest running ones, is the Compliant Financial Infrastructure Project. It is directly related to Common Cloud Controls. The AI governance, the AI readiness work that's going on is also directly related in a different way. And the CALM, architecture as code stuff, which we're going to hear about even more here in just a minute, is also related. And I've got some of those notes here on the screen to talk about how Common Cloud Controls is kind of sitting at the center of all of these. First up, just pointing out the alignment that we've had with the AI Readiness SIG up until leading into the last open source and finance forum, where we were able to actually present a lot of the controls that came out of the AI Readiness SIG in a Common Cloud Controls format, where we're targeting the actual infrastructure elements that are getting deployed and leading those over to be able to build out infrastructure as code modules and validators that can be deployed and verified through the compliant CFI project, Compliant Financial Infrastructure Project. So it's been a really cool initiative, and we're looking to see that actually continue on into partnership with Calm and Architecture as Code. There's just a lot going on in this ecosystem. And so the last thing that I want to put on here is a highlight to one thing that's going on right now. The CCC Delivery Working Group, Damien from Citibank, is overseeing a change management board. So this is the very first effort that we're making to release a set of controls that's official and production ready for 2 different services. And we have 15 people from all across the ecosystem, a lot of involvement from different firms to be able to help increase the confidence that we have in these. So that way we know that when we release these artifacts, they are ready for use in a financial services firm. So we're really, really excited about that. And then the second thing is that the working groups, each of the working group leads that have been active. So we have activity from Citi and Microsoft and Google and LSEG, just a lot of really, really good energy. I realized I just started listing things, which is a dangerous activity because you have to end the list somewhere and you're inevitably going to leave somebody off that list. But we've had a lot of really, really, really good activity from a lot of really, really powerful firms. I'd be remiss to not mention Scott Logic, that's been helping shape a lot of this ecosystem. And we want to make that list go longer and talk about more and more and more people that are getting involved and shaping this and bringing this to life. And those working groups that are shaping this and bringing this to life are specifically designed to bring on new contributors and support new contributors. And anybody from your firm that is wanting to help bring this to life, there is a form and function for you in this space somewhere. So I just want to make a big call out to everybody that's listening to please check out the community calendar, see where we're doing CCC, and just come touch base, see where you can get involved. That's the last call to action on CCC. And Karl, I hope I got close to time.
Very close to time. And particularly because I over budgeted, because I knew you had a lot of announcements to give today. So big thanks from Eddie. Very excited to see Eddie in the new role as in Technical Oversight Committee and all the updates with Common Cloud Controls. Been seeing Eddie in my role. I sit across a lot of projects across the ecosystem, and Eddie is one of the handful of people who maybe sits on more things across the ecosystem than I do. So very excited to see Common Cloud Controls in this hub across the ecosystem and in his new role as chair of Technical Oversight Committee. So on a nice related note, going from controls and AI readiness was just mentioned. We have the Madhu Coimbatore from Morgan Stanley, who is our new co-chair of the AI Strategic Initiative. So Madhu, over to you.
Thank you, Karl, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm Madhu Coimbatore. I lead firm-wide AI platform development at Morgan Stanley. As a lot of you have already mentioned, AI has been a major focus this year. It's one of the strategic initiatives of FINOS in 2024. And the AI Readiness SIG was launched in April 2024. We at Morgan Stanley are one of the founding members of the SIG. And our goal here is to collaborate broadly with the financial services industry and create a common understanding of risks and challenges with AI systems, AI deployments, and create common frameworks to address them. We're all faced with these challenges, and it's great for the industry to collaborate on this. And to that end, one of the major achievements of the SIG in 2024 is that we, over the last 6 to 8 months, we worked on a governance framework for AI. The scope of this framework initially is for simpler AI applications using retrieval augmented generation. And we released a draft governance framework at the OSFF in September. And this consists of 14 threats and 16 controls, which can be used to address those threats. These include things like data leakage from AI systems, prompt injection attacks, data poisoning, access controls, many things. So I would welcome everyone to take a look at this framework. Internally at Morgan, we are looking at leveraging this to see how our own governance frameworks can make use of this. And in 2025, we plan to take this from draft to an official V1 release. And we also want to increase the scope of it from RAG-based applications to other types of use cases. So this is a really important time for all the members to get involved and provide us feedback so we can get a broad set of viewpoints when we publish the first official version of this. So yeah, please help us, please contribute to this. AI is going to be big in 2025. So definitely welcome all the feedback that we can get on this. So the AI initiative, strategic initiative, is not just about AI readiness. There's also a newly created responsible AI SIG, which is currently an exploratory working group. But we are looking at validating the member interest in that space and creating a formal working group or SIG. Responsible AI is another very important area. We want to make sure our AI systems don't have biases and abusive content and whatnot. So again, feedback, and if you're in, please provide us feedback, and if you're interested, let us know. I think Karl will speak more to the LLM exploration, and I think Gab already spoke about the research fund. But yeah, that's all I had. I'm excited to be the new co-chair of this SIG, and looking forward to partner with all of you in 2025. Over to you, Karl.
Great. Thank you very much, Madhu. And I'll just keep my remarks here just really quickly because a lot of this has already been talked about. But just at the bottom right here, we have our AI Strategic Initiative, nice little org chart, and just showing that, so under AI Readiness, we'll have the new Governance Working Group and Responsible Working Group, all of which will provide feedback. The LLM exploration is looking at a lot of projects like code implementations of AI orchestration, open benchmarks, data commons, com is later, mapping use cases to models, and more, which will be, under taking a lot of the lessons from the AI Readiness and the governance framework. And then the research fund will also fit in with the kind of existing work of these two and provide that injection of energy to kind of move everything forward there. So with that, closing out the AI Readiness, thank you very much, Madhu. And next up is Denis from Morgan Stanley on COM. This is a project I'm really excited about, emerging project, hopefully to be project, coming out of the DevOps automation SIG. And so Denis, over to you.
Great, thank you, Karl. I'll try to keep this in 3 minutes or less. We're going to break it up into basically what is COM for the folks who aren't familiar with it. And it's really our open source spec at a way for us to enable architecture, manage architecture as code in an open framework. Why do we want to do this? We want to do this so we can really start to bridge gaps in what is an architectural intent versus what's reality. And that's driving consistency, driving automation, that drives auditability. And in general, it starts to take the architecture as a practice, bridge it out into a few of the other domains that historically don't get managed with inside the architecture content, whether it's a diagram or a structured document. We start to see some movement into the control space and bringing all of not just the architecture, but what are the dependencies or things that should have a dependency on what your application architecture looks like. So for 2024, I think it's important to talk a little bit about where we came and where we are. It was the first initial COM spec was created. There's been a lot of work in the last 12 months, and the community and the people behind it have really been passionate and excited about it. We presented in multiple forums. We didn't limit the presentations to OSFF, New York and London. There's also presentations done at API Day, ScottSoft. And then there were multiple meetups that a lot of the founding and the leading members took it upon themselves to meet with inside of their personal networks. At the product level, we released multiple versions of the schema. Schema is important because at the core, that's exactly what we're leveraging, and this gets exposed to clients and consumers through tooling and through our product solution. So throughout the course of the year, we took the ideas and turned them into tangible products. Karl mentioned that we initially started in a DevOps automation SIG. We migrated the code and documentation to more COM specific. We're hoping, and we'll talk about this in 2025, to move from a SIG to a featured product. Some of the other things as our product and our features grow inside the product are fit for purpose office hours. As we all started to working on this together, we start to have separate streams on the UI UX versus COM and some of the other areas, and most likely domains will join that as well. Documentation is always important when we're asking for adoption and support. And by the end of 2024, we're looking to get our targeted milestone 1.0 completed. And that'll help really put a stake in the ground for us to start to build the products and the suites around the core schema. For 2025, what are we looking to do? We want to expand the community. We call it the consumer and the contributor. This is really important. This isn't just limited to FINOS, but again, we have a great amount of ideas and intellectual capital. We're really looking for people to not just drive the content and the code, to also use it, pull it into your environment, to give it a shake, open up issues, and get as involved as you can. You heard Eddie talk about the common cloud controls 2 sessions or a few minutes ago. I think that is an example of controls and how bringing controls together with architecture, which we haven't seen in the past, is really taking this and making it that enterprisey skill. And in the last quarter, me personally, I've seen a significant amount of interest in people in control spaces. Controls can be security, it could be resiliency. So this is exciting because this helps bring those things together to the table that typically you don't see as part of architecture content. And we want to build out the project. We talked about enhanced CLI, a UI, our visualization engines, and then drive adoption across FINOS streams. How can we take advantage of some of the other flagship or new and up and coming SIGs and projects and take advantage of the community that's here at large with inside of FINOS. And then as well, one of the things that we drove midway through last year was vendor engagement. And how do we get vendors to not just use it, but to travel with us and ideally hoping to leverage them and their teams to help contribute as well. Madhu, in his previous presentation, he mentioned the research fund. We're very, very interested in what that means. How does that work, and how we as a potential and a definitive project in 2025 take advantage of that. And the last thing is the call to arms, the call to action is really to contribute. The more feedback we get, the more we can change, move, and progress. So a big thank you to everybody in the core team and the extended team who has really been able to push this under the FINOS umbrella, but really also dipping into some of our networks to kind of get the word out there on behalf of FINOS and the product. So we're looking forward to a big year in 2025.
Great. Thank you very much, Denis. And I've got to say, the last 3 projects, Common Cloud Controls, AI Readiness, and COM, it's been just really exciting for me. I really get excited about ecosystem alignment. And it's been incredible seeing the potential ideas of how these projects can work together to really kind of provide cohesive offerings to our members. So next up, we have Derek Novavi from S&P to give us a presentation on FDC3 for web.
Thanks, Karl. Yeah, so this, just to give a bit of background, this is an initiative that's been running nearly 2 years now, since I think February 2023. I think it's something that's going to be really important in growing the use of FDC3 across a much wider range of companies and in a wider range of applications. There's been many people involved over this couple of years. In particular, we've benefited from a lot of heavy lifting by Chris West and Rob Moffat, so I wanted to call them out on this. As background, really, FDC3 has always been targeted at web apps, but it was originally designed for web apps running specifically in desktop containers, typically Electron-based containers, rather than vanilla web browsers. And this meant that early FDC3 product offerings led to kind of an undesirable app agent bundling problem. Application vendors were bundling agents with their apps, and this limited the scope for cross-app interop across organizational boundaries. It's fine to use a single agent within the context of, say, a large bank, but once you've got several vendors involved, it becomes much trickier. So the FDC3 for web browsers subgroup was set up to solve this problem, and essentially the solution is to allow apps to dynamically discover and connect to an appropriate FDC3 desktop agent at runtime. This kind of puts browsers on a par with on the same level as desktop containers when it comes to FDC3 interop usage. And so there's kind of 2 parts to this solution. The first part is known as the Web Connection Protocol, which provides this ability to discover a desktop agent at runtime, provides for message transport, and a bunch of other things as well, including things like validation of app and instance identities. So that really kind of handles the handshaking part when an application wants to acquire an FDC3 API at runtime. The second part is known as the Desktop Agent Communication Protocol. It's worth noting that FDC3 is historically been really an API method contract standard. But there's now a new wire protocol standard to FTC3. This is defined in JSON schemas, and of course we can generate type defs in TypeScript and other languages off the back of those. This is used to implement a new proxy interface, which helps support this new mechanism. What this means ultimately is that in the standard FTC3, the FINOS FTC3 NPM package, there'll be a new get agent function which people can use to acquire an agent at runtime. There is a level of backward compatibility, so this can be configured to set the standard window FTC3 global that people have been used to date. Now, I don't really have it on this slide, but just to call out the next steps here. Right now, there's some work ongoing to productionize this implementation of a layer of standardized software which individual apps can use. Testing of this implementation, and as a call to action, really anyone who's able and willing to help in this testing efforts, then please do get in touch with anyone from FTC3 via the usual channels. Elsewhere in 2025, I think the identity and threat modeling piece is going to really come to the fore. That's going to be really useful again in opening up the range of scenarios where people are comfortable with using FTC3 interop. That's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Derek. Next up, we have Peter Smolovich to give us an update on our DEI plans for 2025. Peter, over to you.
Thank you. I look at the clock. I have 12 more minutes. No, I'm just kidding. So the plan is about 2025, but I very quickly want to cover 2024. We have 2 additional coaches from 2024. We actually had a Griswold celebration session. Not only one, we actually had a full open source day, and we have a separate session. We had Big Boost Monday events in 4 different territories for International Women's Day. We had 2 different sessions at the FINOS Open Source in Finance conferences in New York and in London. And we are actually working on, and this is where I start speaking about 2025, restarting this DEI event series. So the first one is going to be January 21st on Times Square. And we are asking actually your help. So help us figure out the name of the series. We are running a small voting on the QR code, and you should watch that space for the actual announcement how you could register for the next year's Times Square event. If you have a topic you want to speak about, you should let us know. And if you want to help out in creating the new DEIFINOS.org website, which will cover a lot of different things. We plan to cover not only the events that we are organizing, but the best practices toolkits, the knowledge center, global and local events, and more. And we want to focus on other aspects as well that we put up as OKRs for us for 24 and 25, on internship, on upskilling, the non-developer interest, and more. So our aim is to let's make the DEI part of the FINOS DNA. And as part of it, I would like to point out that we are organizing our other events for 25 that we already know about. One of them is going to be the Autism Hackathon that FINOS has been supported for many years, and we will have it in 2025 as well. The accessibility collaboration we are having with Discover, the work that we are having about the theme builder, and so on. So please join us at the Diversity Inclusion Committee. Tell to your companies if they're already doing DEI themselves in your company. We think that's not enough. You should join a collaborative event or collaborating effort like what we have as part of FINOS here, so we can have this multiplication effect. We could achieve much more together, each of the companies working together on this. So looking forward to see people who are in New York on the Times Square event. And keep speaking about New York. Of course, we are going to do London events and Montreal events and so on as well. Actually, we have been eyeing to do events in Asia as well in the future. So this New York one, I'm just advertising because we already know at least the date and the location. But we are going to spin up the whole DEIFINOS.org website have all these other information and registration forms and everything there. So that's from my side, Karl. Thank you. And I didn't use my 12 minutes.
Oh, that was my alarm going off, meaning that you went off exactly at time, right when I unmuted myself. So thank you very much, Peter, for that perfectly on time and very informative and very exciting series of updates. And our final community update is from Olivier, our new field CTO, who will be giving us a FINOS ambassador update.
Thank you, Karl, and hello, everyone. So ambassadors are our top advocates, leveraging their expertise and experience to promote the FINOS mission more widely than FINOS alone could manage. They organize events and create content to amplify our message and engage with diverse communities. And today, I'm pleased to share a recap of the first year of the FINOS Ambassadors program. Our group participated in and organized sessions worldwide, as illustrated in this timeline. I would like to give a big thank you to all the incredible ambassadors who have been involved in this program. And of course, we welcome any of you to join us. You can scan the QR code or visit the FINOS website to learn how you can get involved and become a FINOS ambassador too. Next slide, please, Karl. Karl, thank you. Here are some pictures from our events. As you can see, being an ambassador is a fantastic way to network with peers, mentor, and learn from others. For 2025, it will be an exciting year for ambassadors. The group will increase its participation to events and will work closely to FINOS projects to boost their promotion and, as a result, increase their adoption. And by the way, 2 ambassadors spoke today. Can you guess who are they? Thank you. Over to you, Karl.
Thank you very much, Olivier. Next up,
We will raffle out prizes for those who... No, just kidding.
And that's the end of our community and SIG and project updates. So now back to the FINOS team to wrap things up, and then we will get people on their way for the hopefully one of their last updates before the holidays. So Kendall, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Karl. So we are ready to hit 2025 at the ground running. We have several webinars already lined up with our amazing members. So in January, we'll start it off with Sonatype, and then February, we have Temporal, and then March, we'll have Hedera, and then we are still scheduling some other webinars as well, trying to do once a month. So if you're a member company and are interested in hosting a webinar, please reach out to me at membersuccess@finos.org, and we can get you something scheduled. And then also we have 1 gold seat and 1 silver seat on the governing board. Will be up for election starting in May. So be on the lookout for that if you are a gold or silver member. And then lastly, I know that Grizz already talked about the OSFF in London and in New York City. So make sure to save those dates as well. And if you're interested in sponsoring or speaking, make sure to reach out or click the links in the slide deck.
Thank you very much, Kendall. We got a nice, exciting series of events coming up that we are looking forward to. So now we are closing things out with our save the dates. But I believe that next we also have a couple minutes here at the end to also get some final closing words from Gab. But we're going to just leave the save the date here and the QR code to make sure that people can scan. Gab, if you want to unmute, if you want to answer anything from the Q&A first, or we can just move over to your final slide, and then I'll put back the call to action slide at the end.
I do believe I've been trying to catch up with the chat, and I do believe I've addressed
pretty much all the questions there, just to sort of where it's sort of beyond my pay grade, or I guess beyond my technical depth. I see questions from Michael on AI readiness. I think I was able to address those, but both Karl here, karl.moll@finos.org, as well as luca.borella@finos.org would be a great resource to go more in the specifics of what the scope of currently those groups that are looking at. Yeah, thank you, Karl, for posting your email address. I think I addressed the question from Amanda, or at least the excitement from Amanda for the upcoming DI events. You can find the link to our DI group and the vote on the name that Peter called out. And James, you are absolutely right. It seems that every time we do a quarterly call, there is more activity, and you probably can see me virtually looking at Olivier when I say that having additional of these type of calls or meetups would probably require engagement from the ambassadors, as we are kind of a capacity, I have to say here, between 2 OSFFs and 4 community calls. Plus, honestly, you don't really want to hear from us. You really want to hear from the representatives in the community. So hopefully I've addressed all the questions that came up, and I just want to, again, remind you to save the dates for OSFFs and join us. And finally, with 2 minutes left, I have the opportunity of going long and overtime once again, as it's usual. I just want to leave you with hopefully an inspirational message, not just because I'm wearing, a Christmas holiday. So before I wrap with our best wishes on behalf of the FINOS team, I hope to share some inspiration with all of you. When we started 6 years ago, we really had we had a vision, and in many ways, it was really about enabling the industry to be at least participating and collaborating in the open. As we work with our board this year, we charted a much more ambitious vision on the, again, understanding and sort of recognition that a lot of the milestones that we set out when we created FINOS in 2018 have been achieved. We have an open source readiness program. Organizations keep coming to us to really accelerate their open source readiness. We have OSPOs popping right and left in the industry. And as you can see, you have maintainers leading these projects in an increasingly sort of connected way to business value. As our conference has grown, we have seen folks coming out and saying, this is where CNCF was 10 years ago. Again, I think that's very flattering for us. CNCF is a huge community. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it's our sister foundation, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, the host of, Kubernetes, amongst other projects. And we certainly don't have yet as impactful of a project as Kubernetes. But if you think about what FINOS is positioned for, CNCF created a market, a cloud native market, an open core market of about 3.2 trillion. That's how it was, measured in 2022. In our world at FINOS, we really just scraped the surface. We've been working on sort of different layers of the stack, starting from the bottom. And certainly, our footprint and our roots are in capital markets. But increasingly, as new members come in, we keep getting inbound requests to, expand in retail, commercial, and really in more and more business-aligned areas. And if you think about the very regulated nature of this industry, that means that many of you have very similar requirements, and common requirements are generally in the pre-competitive space a really good place to start when you're trying to collaborate. And again, it's something that everyone has to comply with, and it's an item on the bottom line that can be mutualized. And I'll close with my clincher. This is an industry that, different from big tech, has to collaborate with each other to transact, to do business. There are tens of parties involved in the life cycle of a single trade. if you think about it, this calls more naturally even for open standardization, open APIs, common standard to increase liquidity and ultimately, reduce lock-in. So we think, and that's the vision that we're charting with our board, we will be sharing more next year, that we're just scraping the surface, that in a few years from now, financial services can run on open source where it matters. And so I hope this leaves you with a little bit of inspiration. As I promised, I went 2 minutes over, Karl, just not to be any different from my usual tardiness. But I want to thank everyone that contributed to FINOS this year, and hope on behalf of the FINOS team that you all enjoy a well-deserved and relaxing holiday period with your families and friends. Thank you so much, and thanks Karl and the whole team for another excellently run call here.
And with that, we conclude our Q4 2024 all community call. A big thank you to everyone. A big thank you to Gab. A big thank you to all our panelists and attendees. And we hope you have a wonderful end of your year. And we are very excited to continue the great work going into 2025. Thank you all very much.